In this review, and as a long-term user of Hargreaves Lansdown, I'll be taking an in-depth look at the platform and what it offers, from the types of accounts you can open and the investments available, as well as their fees, tools, and who this platform might be best fit for. I'll also draw a comparison with some of the other leading investment platforms out there, many of which I also use on a regular basis. I will put a link in the notes of the video to an article on the Money to the Masses website, which is a full review of the Hargreaves Lansdown platform, which I'll run through that in a second, but you can read that at your own leisure by clicking on that link. And any platform that I mention within this review, there will be links to reviews on the Money to Masses website for those particular platforms as well. Now, jumping across to that Hargreaves Lansdown review for just 1 second, you can see that Hargreaves Lansdown is the UK's largest platform, and it has around £155 billion worth of assets under its administration, and that's for 1.9 million clients. Now, it also has a range of services that aren't just investment based. There are some cash management services as well, and I'll come on to that in a second. But one thing to bear in mind, Hargreaves Lansdown, like lots of these other platforms, regularly have offers, so make sure you look at this review because the offers do change. Now, you can see on screen a quick screenshot of what the platform looks like on a mobile app. It isn't the greatest platform in the world to use on an app. It's effectively just an overlay to their customer service department. If you need to change anything on your investments, then you effectively send a message to their customer service department, which is excellent, I have to say, and they will action it for you. But you can look at your investments in the platform, whether it's online using a desktop or the mobile app. Now, Hargreaves Lansdown offers the typical things you'd expect, like a stocks and shares ISA, a junior ISA. It doesn't actually charge any platform fee on that, which is fantastic. Other platforms have actually mimicked that, Fidelity being one of them. Hargreaves Lansdown also offers a lifetime ISA, a fund and share account, as well as a SIP. Now, their fund and share account, they don't charge a platform fee. If you just hold shares within it, then it can be incredibly cost effective, and it doesn't actually cost you anything a year. When it comes to the types of investments that you can put your money in, there are some ready-made pension options. They aren't necessarily the best option out there. There are lots of other robo-advice propositions, I'll come on to those in a second, which do ready-made portfolios. There's also the active savings solution, so it's almost a separate savings platform, so you can manage putting your money in various different savings accounts with different providers all in one place. It is very good, and actually when it first came out, it didn't necessarily have the leading rates, but it does tend to have some really good rates, and it often has the market leading rates, so it is a decent solution. Even if you don't plan to invest with Hargreaves Lansdown, then the active savings platform is worth looking at, and we have a review on the Money to the Masses website. I'll put a link to that in the notes. In terms of cost, Hargreaves Lansdown pricing structure is considered competitive, particularly for investors with portfolios of up to £50,000. Now, fees vary depending on the type of account and the investments held. You can see that on screen. For example, there are annual charges for shares held in ISAs, SIPs and lifetime ISAs, which are capped at certain levels. When it comes to share dealing, there are also trading fees that are applied when you make those trades, and they are expensive compared to other platforms, but they do decrease as the number of deals made in the previous month increases, and you can see those on screen if I scroll down to them there. When it comes to customer reviews on platforms like Trustpilot, then Hargreaves Lansdown is rated as great, with many positive comments focusing on the excellent customer service and the quality of research and tools. But there are some negative comments as well that mention it might not always be the cheapest option, and that Hargreaves Lansdown lacks a live chat support function. And on screen you can see the pros and cons of the platform, which includes a selection of ready-made portfolios as the pros, the great app, customer service, and the lack of charges on the junior ISA. But it's not the cheapest, as you can see on the cons, and that lack of live chat does seem to bother some people. But their customer service within the app, if you send a message, they are very prompt and they will get back to you. So how does it compare to other platforms out there? Well, if you look at AJ Bell, which is one of the largest alternatives out there and one of its biggest competitors, then it is among one of the cheapest platforms for those who want to primarily invest in unit trusts and want to hold both their ISA and SIP on the same platform. But bear in mind, while there's no cost for buying and selling unit trusts with Hargreaves Lansdown, AJ Bell charges £1.50 each time. For investors with larger portfolios, say over £50,000, then Interactive Investor, or II, is a cheap alternative to Hargreaves Lansdown, and that's because it's got a fixed platform fee structure. So it charges a fixed monthly fee, whereas Hargreaves Lansdown charges a percentage of assets. So it works out more expensive for people who have larger amounts. Now on screen, I'm flashing up a couple of tables which show the cost of investing with a variety of platforms based upon whether you hold unit trusts, investment trusts, or you're trading in shares. Now, we'll put links to those in the notes of this video so you can go and look at them at your own leisure and compare the costs. But II is one of the most cost-effective platforms when you have larger amounts, particularly when you're heading towards the £50,000 plus area, heading towards £100,000. And Hargreaves Lansdown percentage of assets fee structure means that the more you have with the platform, the more you are charged. For those interested in investing in Vanguard funds only, so let's say Vanguard's popular life strategy funds, then Interactive Investor can be the cheapest way to do that if you have £96,000 in life strategy funds, for example, within an ISA, or if they're within a SIP, then if you have £104,000 or more in Vanguard funds, then Interactive Investor, again, is probably the cheapest option out there, even cheaper than Vanguard's own investment platform. Turning to Fidelity, which is another leading platform in the UK, Hargreaves Lansdown might be preferred for its research capabilities and the ability to generally compare and chart funds, and arguably the superior customer service. Now, having used both platforms, there's not too much to choose between them, but probably Hargreaves Lansdown, in my experience, edges it ever so slightly in the customer service department, if that's important to you. However, Fidelity can be more attractive from a cost perspective for individuals with a SIP between £25,000 and £250,000, particularly if you mainly invest in funds and shares and conduct your own research. If you're primarily interested in buying and selling shares regularly, then look at Free Trade and Trading 212. Just a word of warning, Trading 212 currently doesn't offer a pension, so if you want to do it in a pension, then you aren't going to be able to do that with Trading 212, and also Free Trade charges for its ISA wrapper. Now, both platforms allow commission-free trading. Obviously, Hargreaves Lansdown charges for trades, but do be mindful with the other two platforms that there will be other fees as well. I'll put links to the reviews on the Money to the Masses website so you can compare the charging structures, and particularly you can look at the FX fees, always something to bear in mind. If you're after a platform that gives you something very simple, so you maybe can do a bit of share trading, you can buy some funds, you like a bit of Vanguard, then Bell Dodl is a simple app-based platform to look at. It does have a very limited investment selection, and it's aimed probably, in my opinion, at beginners, but it can be cost effective, and it could be an introduction to investing and a platform that is very easy to use for somebody who is new to investing before they progress onto some of the larger platforms that I've already mentioned. I mentioned Vanguard Investor earlier. Interestingly, their platform has now introduced a new minimum £4 a month fee on their self-managed ISAs. So that now makes Hargreaves Lansdown much more attractive from a cost perspective for people who have portfolios below £30,000 if they want to invest in Vanguard funds. Moving on to managed portfolio services. So Hargreaves Lansdown does offer managed portfolios, but the likes of Money Farm, Nutmeg and Wealthify do have a track record, and that is what they do, offer just managed portfolios, not the DIY services. So on screen you can see there is an article showing the best performing stocks and shares ISAs out there, and we compare the performance of Money Farm, Wealthify and Nutmeg portfolios, not all of them, but the main ones that are centered around a balanced portfolio. We give the 5-year annualized return, as you can see on screen. We give you the equity exposure so you can compare apples with apples, and we give you the rough cost a year based upon investing £20,000. Of course, there are the underlying fees you'd have to add onto those numbers as well. Past performance is not a guide to future returns, but if you want to look at this more closely, there's a link in the notes of this video. So who is Hargreaves suitable for? Well, investors with portfolio sizes up to £50,000 will find value there. Also, people who want to have a wide range of investment choice. So we're talking about things like investing in shares, investment trusts, unit trusts, maybe investing in things like VCTs as well. Also, if you want great customer service if that's important to you, and you want the ability to use the platform for research as well, then Hargreaves Lansdown will be a standout contender. While Hargreaves Lansdown does pay interest on uninvested cash on its platform, it does also offer active savings. So it has a separate platform where you can put your cash and move it from bank to bank in order to try and optimize the interest you earn on your money outside of your pension and ISA. I'll put a link to an article on the Money to the Masses website where we look at the rate that all platforms pay on uninvested cash, just in case you're interested. So who is Hargreaves Lansdown? Not particularly the best platform for. Well, if you're a very frequent share trader, it's unlikely to be the platform for you. If you want to look at something like Free Trade or Trading 212, especially if you're making more than 20 trades a month, as the fees do stack up. Now, the fees are competitive for many investors generally on Hargreaves Lansdown if you're holding things like funds, but if your portfolio becomes significant in size, let's say over £100,000, then you might want to look at platforms with a fixed fee structure like Interactive Investor. And if you want to take a hands-off approach to investing and you want somebody else to run your money for you, then you might want to also look at the likes of Nutmeg, Money Farm and Wealthify. And again, there are links to those in the notes of this video. If you found this useful, do make sure you hit that like button, but also subscribe to the channel.